YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and today we're ranking quarterbacks. Starting NFL quarterbacks from 32 to 1, worst to first for the 2020 NFL season. A lot of people have been ranking their quarterbacks recently. CBS, Chris Sims. We're here to fix them. I'm going to give you my rankings here and let you guys give you your thoughts in the comments. This is essentially predicting the 2020 season. We're moving forward here. Forget the 2019 season. We're moving forward, so they're essentially predictions here. And rookies are included because rookies will be a factor as long as they play. So keep that in mind when we go through just these, not just these quarterback rankings, but the running backs, receivers. We're going to go through every single position group. So before we get started, you're going to want to follow that Twitter. That's the most important here because we're constantly talking NFL. We're constantly keeping you guys involved. Going to post some polls, maybe create a bracket out of it. You guys will vote for the best quarterback. We're going to give several options there, and we're going to do that for every position group. You're going to want to follow that podcast. There's a link down below for that, to Twitter, our second channel. Please subscribe to this channel. Trying to reach 60K by week 1 of the NFL. I think that's very doable, so really appreciate the support. Really appreciate you if you can help us out on that goal. Let's take a look at the bottom 8 here. I don't really like to consider them the bottom 8, though, because we're in a good place in the NFL. A lot of good quarterbacks, really. So we'll start at the bottom here. I do have Gardner Minshew at 32 of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know there's a group of people that are really on the Gardner Minshew train, and he was definitely impressive last year. More than impressive. Nobody really expected that. I actually might have been a little higher on him in terms of the pre-draft prospect, or process as a prospect, but nobody really expected him to be that good. So I think this year, they played a lot of small ball last year. I think teams start to figure it out. He doesn't have the best supporting cast, around him. DJ Chark taking, steps, strides, but Fournette not wanting to be there. So it's a tough environment, I think, to be the quarterback in Jacksonville. And I don't know. He's shown flashes last year, and they were in and out with him. They put Foles back in when he was kind of back. He wasn't really healthy. So I don't expect as good of numbers this year. Not that they were outstanding last year. So I do have him at the bottom. I know some people will disagree. Dwayne Haskins at 31. I believe in Dwayne Haskins. I believe in him. He got thrown into a tough situation last year and, started off by throwing, I think, 3 interceptions before he got a touchdown. But if you look at the last few games where he got the chance to develop, got a chance to, not play in a terrible situation. It was still, bad, but not as terrible when he got thrown into it. He started to play better. If you watch him, much better, and that's kind of the chance you need to give him, and you continue to give him. So better coaching staff in there. Even though he's at 31, again, I believe in Haskins. The running back group looks pretty good. Pretty much just Terry McLaurin there. They could get better at the receiver unit. They got slightly better. So, again, long-term, Haskins can do it for right now, 31. I believe Tyrod Taylor will start week 1, so I threw Tyrod Taylor in here for the Chargers. He did lead mediocre Bill, maybe a little better than that. Maybe that's a little harsh, but Bills team to the playoffs a few years ago. And he looked good in preseason last year, honestly, but as much as, Phillip Rivers was struggling, they knew he wasn't going to be their quarterback, that, this year they never put Tyrod Taylor in. So I think there's a reason for that, and he might not be as talented as he once was, which, again, wasn't really anything too special. I guess he has a lot to his game, being able to run, but, being mobile. But, it's going to be tough for the Chargers there. I think Herbert replaces him at some point, even though I do think Taylor's the better option this year. But if you draft a young quarterback at 6, let's get him in there and develop him, So I'd probably start Herbert, even though I think Taylor's better right now. But they can win games. So they're in a tough spot, that coaching staff. So Tyrod Taylor at 30, Sam Darnold at 29. I'm probably not as high on Darnold as most people are. If you've been with me for a while, been with us, I haven't really been a Sam Darnold fan. Really wasn't a big fan of USC. I never doubted his future. I think he has a lot of upside. I think him and Josh Allen were pretty much in the same boat. Like they're, Josh Allen being a little more raw, but Darnold has looked more raw, I suppose. And he still has potential, and he had the health situation last year. That didn't help. He has Adam Gase, so that doesn't help. So Darnold maybe got in the worst situation, compared to a guy like Josh Allen, so that's kind of hurting him. I need to see consistency. What I've consistently seen is him that really doesn't make any sense, but be inconsistent. I guess in a way it makes sense. In big moments where you can't throw that interception, when you can't turn the ball over. He's not going to turn the ball over as much as whoever leads the NFL in interceptions. He's not going to be too far off, but he'll kind of throw that interception or make that mistake in the crucial moments. So I'm not doubting his future. It just hasn't shown me enough throughout his entire career, not just in New York. And I factor in who he's playing with, obviously. So I don't know if they have the best talent there. They definitely don't have the best coaching there. 28, I got Tua. Yeah, a rookie ahead of some other guys that are veterans or in their second year. People are going to get mad at me, but we're moving forward here. This is for the 2020 season. I'm predicting Tua. Fitzpatrick could start, actually, because Tua, the health situation, the lack of preparation for the season due to the corona, that could make him not start. But that good of a prospect, you draft him that high. Fitzpatrick is probably better than people think, but you're still at the end of the day not going to win with him. They're going to start Tua, I believe, as long as they get some kind of practice, a decent amount of practice. And Tua is a very good prospect. You worry about the injuries, but I still consider Sam Darnold a prospect. You definitely should consider Dwayne Haskins and Gardner Minshew a prospect. Basically, look at them as a view of a prospect. They're still getting better. Tua is much better of a prospect than those players. I think he's, in terms of his talent, his arm talent, he's much further along than those guys. So that's why he was drafted that high, and that's why the Dolphins had their sights set on him in the past. I do worry about the injury. He might be ranked higher if I wasn't a little concerned about him playing all games because the injury or because the Dolphins kind of taking it slow, still letting everyone develop together, so that's probably why he's at 28. But 27, Daniel Jones had a pretty impressive rookie year, better than expected. I don't expect him, most quarterbacks continue to improve. I think I don't expect him to improve much. I think a similar, in terms of numbers, I think around the similar, he's got to hang on to the ball a little more. I think it was Kirk Cousins is the guy that was getting ripped for fumbling on sacks. He doesn't really get ripped as much for that anymore because now we got a new guy here that does it even more in Daniel Jones. So that's kind of what the world wants him to get better at is, hanging on to that football. Fumbling is actually a concern. He could turn the ball over in the air as well, but was impressive, and I like the upside of him. For the Giants for the future because there's a lot of guys. He's got a lot of talent he's growing with, young talent. So I think about a similar year. Derek Carr at 26, tough to rank Derek Carr. I mentioned it before, last year as well, during last year. First 6 to 8 games, he looked like a top 15, maybe even top 10 quarterback. He really did. And then it went completely south, throwing the ball away way too much in situations where you shouldn't. There's guys like Rodgers and Brady, throw the ball away when it's smart to throw the ball away. Derek Carr was almost really looking to do it at times. And he might not have thrown it away as much as those guys, maybe not even close, but just the situations, and just was off target. And I know another year with Gruden, now you add Henry Ruggs, you expect him to be better. Ever since that injury, it's just not a lot of trust in Derek Carr, unfortunately. Drew Lock at 25. I was high on Drew Lock in the draft class a year ago. Could not believe the Broncos stole him in the second round. He was impressive in his small sample size last year. I think he's going to have a good season. 25 doesn't look like a good rank, but really it is with the amount of good quarterbacks in the league. And this is really, I'm almost considering this his first year in a way. So I like Drew Lock. I believe in him. This Broncos team should be pretty good. He's going to continue to get better and continue to climb the ranks, in my opinion. So that's the first 8, the bottom 8. The next 8 here, I got Baker Mayfield at 24. Interesting. I was very high on Baker Mayfield a couple years ago. Excellent rookie season. Last year was pretty terrible. The pass rush, the pressure was constantly on him, which forced him to, have more turnovers, I suppose, but he was really forcing things, really overthrowing things downfield, which resulted in some turnovers. But I expect to be better this year, but at the same time, it's tough. I expect him to be better, but still it's somewhere around the same rank because there's a lot of good quarterbacks for this year in the NFL. You get Stefanski in there. He's going to simplify the offense more, but at the same time, it becomes a more predictable offense, and that could backfire. I'm not saying it will, but it could. So I think Baker statistically definitely plays a better season than last year. But he's gonna have to. It's a tough task because he's got another new coordinator in here, some more changes, and that's tough to do. 23 is Teddy Bridgewater. I've always been a big Teddy Bridgewater fan since Louisville. One of the more accurate quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's very accurate. He can move. Even though he had the injury, maybe not being able to move as much. We've seen him very impressive. 5 wins, 5-0 for the Saints last year. Very impressive. You want to see more big playability out of Teddy Bridgewater. I think he can deliver in that category. Just want to see more. Joe Brady, having him calling the offense, great. Having Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore continue to improve. Now Robbie Anderson. Some weapons there. Some weapons. And this could be a sneaky good quarterback and a sneaky good offense. Perhaps, I think, first-year coach, first-year coordinator, first-year quarterback. I think there could be some struggles there. 22, Phillip Rivers. Definitely on the decline. It's one that's up in the air because better offensive line than he had with the Chargers. A lot of his turnovers came where he kind of forced things when he was under pressure. Still his fault. But he won't be under as much pressure, we don't think. But then again, the weapons might not be as good. They could be. T.Y. Hilton needs to stay healthy. But Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there, they don't quite have that, but they do add Michael Pittman, and then maybe a guy like Paris Campbell could step up. So I guess about saying healthy offensive line, continue to play the way they've been playing, and he could be better than this. First-year guy, once again, don't expect a whole bunch, especially because he's declining, but could be another sneaky good guy here. Nick Foles at 21. I'm probably a little higher on Nick Foles than everyone else. I would be higher if I could trust him to stay healthy the full year. That's kind of where I'm on the fence about Nick Foles and the Bears. Is he going to play the full season? That's kind of the question. But I like the fit. People don't realize the fit. Everyone says he's only going to be good because Doug Peterson, the Eagles, this fit with Nick Foles and Matt Nagy is very good. He's not going to be as flashy as he was on that Super Bowl run, that playoff, maybe the Super Bowl game, NFC Championship game. Not going to be as flashy. It's just he's kind of going to be a system guy. Even though he's a solid quarterback, I think he's more than that. He's kind of going to be a system guy. A lot of quick underneath throws. It's gonna feel like he's a system guy, but I think he's gonna be very solid in that system. I really think so. Maybe if I could trust him to stay healthy, maybe if I think more big playability, which I don't know if that's the thing about that Nagy offense. I don't know if they really need it. They're gonna need it here and there. But I don't think they really need it. It's going to be a unique offense. Cam Newton at 20 just recently signed with the Patriots. I like Cam Newton. Always believed in him. But I think people are starting to, and it's the Patriots, Bill Belichick. I think people are maybe overhyping it a little bit. I'm really excited. To see it. Can't wait. So this definitely should get some hype, but I think most people would put him higher in the rankings just because he's on New England, and that definitely boosts him up. You take a look at the last few years, injuries, sat out most this year when he played 2-3 games. It did not look good when he played the year before. Wasn't looking good. It's because he was playing with injury. Okay, now everyone's saying he's healthy, and that's great. I believe it. That's great. How will he be? It's almost like he's been off. You almost gotta. Your brain with your arm, it doesn't work the same anymore. You're playing it a different way because you're trying to throw the ball hurt. Now you're not. Even the year before that when he wasn't hurt, accuracy really wasn't there. So it's been about 3 years since we've seen a very solid Cam Newton. He has the running ability there. That's great. But with all that being said, I still have him at 20 in a good quarterback group because I think he'll step up this year. He's with the Patriots. He's with McDaniels, Belichick. I think he plays very well. So me putting him at 20 is really just boosting him up because I believe in him because, basing off the last few years, you can't really rank him any more than this. I got Jared Goff at 19. Everyone likes ripping Jared Goff recently, and I was kind of one of those people after his really good season, the Super Bowl run season. I was saying, people were a little high on him. And then people saw kind of what people like me meant, but now I think people are a little low on him. I think they're ripping him too much. You go from one extreme to another. He shows those glimpses still. He has those crazy plays, those crazy games even. Yeah, he's more of a system guy. I think most quarterbacks are, I think every quarterback's a system quarterback. I'm a believer in that. I think more, some are more than others in terms of how much control they have versus how much control their coaches have. So that's, I guess, why people get overboard with the system quarterback with Jared Goff. McVay does control a lot, but he has that play in him. He has it in him. Offensive line from Super Bowl year to last year didn't really help. It really didn't help. It made it harder for him, and it could be at the same level this year. So that's why I do believe he has the talent. He has the arm talent, more than you think. But I can't completely boost him back up even though I'm probably a little higher on him than most, because yeah, the offensive line could struggle, which could result in him struggling. It wasn't just him struggling and everything else struggled. It was the offensive line and Goff kind of struggling together, which resulted in everything else. I got Josh Allen at 18. Other guy might be a little higher on than most people. Josh Allen, well, I believed in him coming out of Wyoming, just not right away, and he's further along than I thought he would be. He's further along. I had him, ranked higher than a guy like Sam Darnold. I expected Sam Darnold to be a little further along than Josh Allen right now, even though I had a better grade on Josh Allen, and he's already further along, maybe a better situation. Last year they were still trying to figure him out. I think the Bills, the coaching staff, Josh Allen, early in the year they were kind of unleashing him. This guy's got tremendous arm talent. Just unleash him. He was turning the ball over a little bit really early last year. Defense was kind of keeping him in games, winning the games for the most part. And then they kind of turned him into game manager. Like, we got a good enough defense. We can't have you turn the ball over, making the defense more stressful. Just take it easy. And that kind of almost created the same thing in different ways. The defense kind of had to win them the game. And then as the season went on, they kind of found that middle ground. They kind of found that in between a bit, and it really worked out for the Bills. So now they kind of got the identity. Now they had Stephon Diggs, so we're going to get more of those big plays going because we know Josh Allen has that big play ability. Stephon Diggs' is definition of big play downfield for receivers. I think he's going to have a pretty good season. This is where I might surprise people. I got Joe Burrow at 17. There's a group of you out there that get really mad when I rank rookies because they're unproven. Well, this is for the 2020 season. Rookies, especially the first overall pick, will play. Joe Burrow will play, and this is the best quarterback prospect I've ever seen. I've actually compared him in the pre-draft process to Jared Goff, a better version of Jared Goff. I'm picturing myself, I'm picturing Joe Burrow on teams last year as a rookie. Some teams, how well they would have done. They would have done better. It depends on what team we're talking about. I think Joe Burrow is that polished. The Bengals may have better weapons than you think. The question is the offensive line. The team's got a little bit of ways to go, but they're not in rebuild mode. Still, they're kind of past that. They've kind of they got those rebuild tools, not just Joe Burrow. And they're getting along here. They're moving through it. So they got some talent. They got some weapons. Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd's really improving. A.J. Green's back. They drafted T. Higgins. Jonah Williams is back for the offensive line to get better. There are a lot of young guys on defense, so this team will be better. Joe Burrow's a really good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. So I almost put him in the top 16. I just kind of stopped myself, because he hasn't played yet. And there's going to be an adjustment period, even though I don't think it's much. I mean, this guy is that good, in my opinion. So I do have him over some veterans. We're moving on to the big top 16 here. We're going 4 at a time. Some new graphics this year. Really liked how these turned out. I got Jimmy Garoppolo at 16 of the Niners. Yeah, another one of those guys considered somewhat of a system guy. Shanahan's system really, I think, helped Garoppolo's a really good quarterback. That's why he's in the top 16 in a quarterback league. Really, everyone's pretty much all these guys solid quarterbacks. So I think maybe he doesn't play quite as good numbers wise as he did last year. Teams could start to figure it out. So basically, he has to improve his game to to almost play at the same level because teams start to figure things out. Systems out, quarterbacks out. So, and I think he can do that. It's a good enough team, good enough system, and he's a good enough quarterback. Just maybe not, statistically in the ballpark, perhaps. I got Kyler Murray at 15. And Kyler Murray, I think, has a pretty big year. You look at their schedule, it's on the easier side, and I think it'll be tough for teams to game plan for Kingsbury/Murray's offense here. And they've added some weapons. They have DeAndre Hopkins. So I think Murray, in general, it's tough to see who's next. Stafford, it's kind of tough to put them in general quarterback rankings, same area, one apart. It's tough. But we're predicting this year, I think he has a pretty big year. I got Stafford at 14. There's a group of people that have him in the top 10, and he has a talent in him, but there's more to it than that. You need to stay healthy. You need to play. We need to play every game here. We need to put it out consistently because when he's healthy, down the stretch of the season, the lines start to kind of fold, so I need to see it throughout the whole year. He was, last year before he was hurt, he was having a fantastic year, but it's almost like deja vu. It happens every year, every offseason. Stafford's going to happen. He's going to come up big again, but let's see it throughout the whole year, whether it's injury or not. I want to see it throughout the whole year. So I got him at 14 for now. It's still a guy, he's talented, definitely talented, but just want to see more. Another guy we want to see more from, Ryan Tannehill, but I mean, first time in this type of system here, away from Adam Gase too. A very good system in Tennessee. Derrick Henry, really good receiver unit. A.J. Brown making it better, of course, only in his second year. It's just a perfect fit, and it works. The play action works so well at Ryan Tannehill, and you only can run play action if the defense fears the run of the offense, and with Derrick Henry you do. So I think having the right pieces around him maybe makes him better, but at the end of the day, he's there for a reason. He's there in that system for a reason. It works with him, and he was, there's about 50-50, I think, the world on Ryan Tannehill. You got people that say, well, it was kind of a fluke. People didn't know what to expect. That kind of helped them. They had, the element of surprise, perhaps the game plan factor. It's not going to continue to happen. The last playoff game, he couldn't really get big plays going, so the people are kind of picturing that. Other group of people are saying he was that good in that short amount of time. New team, too, brand new team for him. I think down the stretch of the regular season, they were the number one offense, so pretty ridiculous. So I think there's really no reason. I think injury is the only thing stopping him from being the number 13 quarterback, solid quarterback. So definitely a wait and see. Let's see how he does. Can't wait to see it, but I believe in Ryan Tannehill with the Titans offense there. Moving on to 12 through 9 here. I got Kirk Cousins at number 12. Looking at the 2018 season, I'd say mediocre, almost, at best. They're decent at best, maybe is the best way to describe it. Last year, insane improvement. He played like a top 10 quarterback last year statistically, and that's I don't think that's a question. Is he a top 10 quarterback in general, though? That the answer is no, but he can be. Got him in the 12 range for this year. I'd say if he takes another step up, we saw the improvement from 2018 to 2019 was insane. He's still kind of entering his prime, younger low 30s, so he could. But it's tough to see him improve that much again. But it's something that's realistic, and that could really boost him up. So that's something to watch out for. But I got him right around 12. The Vikings got pretty predictable, and they don't have Stefanski anymore. It's still kind of a predictable offense. They need to run more play action. When they ran play action, Kirk Cousins was on the money, so I want to see some more of that. Teams need to fear the run. They may need Dalvin Cook in there, even though Madison's a pretty good back. They may need Cook in there for teams to fear the run so they can run the play action. So we're going to have to wait and see what goes down with that situation. I got Ben Roethlisberger at number 11. Another tough one to rank because, where is he at? We didn't see him really all last year, basically coming off an injury and somewhat declining, at his age when he did last play. In terms of his accuracy, a little more chances of throwing that interception, turning the ball over, but still a very solid quarterback. The injury, is the injury going to affect him? I'm not worried about rust or anything. I think that actually could be a good thing. But how will he be with the injury? I think he's going to be solid. I have him at number 11, so I think he'll be a solid quarterback here. I think they're getting the right pieces for him, too. I like James Conner, but I do worry about the running game because James Conner's health. He's a very good running back, but because of the health. They will bring in McFarland, do have Benny Snell. So the running game could make it tougher on him. Running games make quarterbacks better. It makes them unpredictable. But they have the right receiver unit for Ben Roethlisberger, so I think they're going to air the ball out like they should. I think I like Ebron fits that group as well. They got a good young receiver group. They had Claypool to the mix as well. So I think Roethlisberger has a pretty good year here. Matt Ryan at number 10. I think a little better year than last year. I wasn't a fan of his, maybe down the stretch I was, but his game last year, you'd start a little shaky early in games, which the defense giving up instant points didn't help either, but Matt Ryan struggling early in games. That's where his turnovers came, and it was surprising. That kind of hurt them a little bit. At times, and that kind of went unnoticed to some people. But I think a little better this year. I think Ridley could step up a little bit. They had Todd Gurley. Offensive line's the key there. Offensive line 2018 was surprisingly not good because it's always been a good, consistent offensive line. 2018, surprisingly not good, and they realized these guys are declining. Let's draft some guys. So they draft 2 guys in the first round in 2019. Some injuries last year. They got Lindstrom and McGarry, so they're trying to get them in. Lindstrom being guard, McGarry being right tackle. Those were the rookies from 2019, but some injuries during the season last year, and that kind of affected them. Now they're getting healthy, and these guys are developing. Obviously, they're getting better. So I think the offensive line's better too, which makes Matt Ryan better, top 10 quarterback here. I got Dak Prescott number 9. Needed him to stay consistent, but I did have a really good year. He did have a really good year last year, statistically wise and big plays, big playability. And he's still a young quarterback, still on the rise. He just had those games that came up down the stretch. Remember the Bears game? I think it was absolutely awful. Like I don't want to see those games, because game like that makes him look like a bottom 9 quarterback easily. So, but he's still growing. He's still getting better. I think Mike McCarthy is a great thing for him. I think, Amari Cooper, hopefully he stays on the field 100% of the time. Having his contract could point to that direction, I suppose, lean towards that direction. And then CeeDee Lamb's going to be a great receiver even day one, even though he's a rookie. So Dak Prescott should be getting better here, and that's a scary thing. So I have him at number 9. Now we see 8 through 5. I have Carson Wentz at number 8 of the Eagles. That's the crazy thing. The Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott battle. Why? Why is it such a battle? NFC East rivals, those fan bases hate each other. They're always debating on who's better. And it's interesting because they're always pretty much for me at least, pretty much right next to each other in terms of the rankings. And I'm back and forth on both. I think the reason why people rank Carson Wentz so high it is because of the potential, and I think in that upside is tremendous. You see all the talent that he has, and I think that kind of unleashes a little bit this year. Maybe not fully, but it kind of comes out. People were saying he's an MVP candidate last year. I wasn't in on that. I always kind of thought he was a little overhyped, a little overrated, just because people are kind of putting him at the top. But I see this talent, I see the potential, the upside, and I think a little bit of that comes out of him this year. They had a good amount of speed. They're getting healthy. Not fully healthy because Brandon Brooks is already hurt, their star guard there. But a lot, I think guys like Jalen Reagor is a great fit. Deshaun Jackson coming back. They got a lot of good pieces. Even Hightower is a mid-round pick there. For Boise State. I think the right players are in there for Carson Wentz, and now's the time to kind of unleash his talents. So I'm kind of banking on that, back and forth on Wentz versus Dak. Could go either way. But for Wentz, for me, has that big playability. Looking at last year, for an example, it needs to be more consistent, though. The routine throws, like he, even the running back screens, the running back slip screens, routine throws, he would kind of just be inconsistent on, just miss those. I need to see him stay consistent, and he was very solid down the stretch to make the playoffs last year. So I'm just banking on him, because there's some people that just think he's broken out already, and he has not yet. He has not, so I'm kind of banking on that. I got Drew Brees at 7. Maybe he doesn't have the arm strength he did, a few years ago, but really not too far up. But the accuracy is what I'm getting at, is definitely still there, and that's what's impressive about Drew Brees. So I do have him at number 7. Having Michael Thomas and adding Emmanuel Sanders, that's fantastic for them. Hopefully Kamara is, I think he was a little beat up last year, so I'm banking on him being a little more healthier, and that helps Drew Brees there. So I think another solid year for Drew Brees for the Saints there. Maybe one last rodeo, sign a 2-year contract, but it could be this last year or 2. We're going to see. I got Aaron Rodgers at 6. I don't think Aaron Rodgers played like number 6 quarterback last year. I think threw the ball away too much. Yeah, I was pretty smart with the ball. But I think we can get more out of him this year. I think we do. Devonta Adams missed, a portion of the season. So, and then LaFleur's first year. You do worry about, because LaFleur is more of a scripted type offense coordinator, you do worry about, that tends to kind of get figured out. So that's kind of why I'm a little iffy. But I think Aaron Rodgers, end of the day, he plays better this year than he did last year. I think more explosive plays out of Aaron Rodgers. I got Tom Brady at 5. Most people's rankings that I've seen, I don't look at a ton, but have him a little lower in this. But I still think maybe not the same as he once was, which was the very best in football, and the greatest of all time. So maybe not there, but that doesn't mean we got to drop him down big time. I think he's got a fire underneath him. I think he's ready to play, ready to prove something on the Buccaneers. What a great coach, coordinator with Arians, having Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski. This talent there. The offensive line's getting better. And then I think underrated defense. I think Tom Brady has a heck of a season this year. The Patriots that didn't have the talent last year, they had some injuries as well. The offensive line was kind of suffering, mainly the left tackle spot. So I think changing kind of the scenery here, I think helps him, kind of motivates him a bit. So I think Tom Brady has a big season. I think a big touchdown season statistically for Tom Brady with those weapons that he has. So I'm excited to see that. We're on to the big four. Number four, something, I talked about possible, when we do our podcast, a little bit on the spot, we talked about quarterback rankings, so something I changed my mind on a little bit. I boosted Deshaun Watson up, kind of had him in that 5-6 range before. Number four for Deshaun Watson. A lot of people out there, including myself, first thought, just because of the Texans offseason, they got worse. Deshaun Watson doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins. He might have just got worse. Everyone's wrong. We're wrong. Deshaun Watson is a very good young quarterback here that is improving every single year. And his talent, his understanding of the game is going to continue to get better. Yes, the talent around him matters. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, I think it's among others. I think it's about staying healthy. It's a good unit still. It's a good unit. They had David Johnson for running back. Here's the key, though. Offensive line gets better. Laramie Tunsil, another year for him. Titus Howard, another year for. It's a young offense. Max Sharping, he was a tackle at NIU a year ago. They moved him to guard, so another year him learning guard. This offensive line just got better without having additions, really, in terms of the starters. And people don't realize that. So Deshaun Watson gets better. I just hope some people are questioning, is he happy? He has to be happy to be able to improve, play better. I believe that. I believe in Deshaun Watson. He's my number 4 quarterback. Number 3 is Lamar Jackson, the MVP of last year. Always been a Lamar Jackson guy at Louisville. Always been a big believer in him. Was so pumped for him that season he had. And then people question, could people start to figure this out? Because Lamar Jackson's kind of, him running. If you slow him down running, then you can kind of focus on the pass. You could slow him. It's not a guy you could stop, but you can slow him down. That's kind of the question. I think one of those things, easier said than done. I think he's that talented, and people kind of miss that, how talented of a thrower he is. The playoff game, I kind of, there's some throws he would like back. Great game plan by Tennessee, but most of it, I think his weapons kind of let him down a bit. Some drops. Things like that. Not a great game for him, but I think people got on him a little too much. I think the kid can throw the ball, basically what I'm getting at, and the running factor definitely helps. Just a tremendous football player and well-deserving the MVP, and I put him at number 3 quarterback for this year. Russell Wilson at number 2, very accurate quarterback, dangerous, of course, can make any throw, and definitely could use his legs as well. I think, we're talking quarterbacks. I think in terms of the arm talent, he's definitely top tier, and that's why he's number 2 on the list. But it's tough. It's even though Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, these guys feel like number ones, and they can be number ones. It's just really tough for them to put number 1 next to their name, because the guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's just on the level. Lamar Jackson's continuing to Deshaun Watson. These guys are same draft class as Deshaun Watson. They're continuing to get better because they're young, talented quarterbacks, understanding the game, understanding their team every year more and more. And he's already playing as the best player in football, as a Super Bowl MVP. He's already at that level before this 2020 season. According to him, he's just figuring out how to read defenses. I was kind of surprised by it. I think it's accurate. I think it's accurate for him to say that, because I think he's understanding possibly blitz packages, things like the more complex things, like that. I think understanding pressure, what's coming at him. I think he's already understood coverages for the most part. I mean, you kind of go back. Teams, for whatever reason, I think the Raiders did it on him the first game last year, and multiple teams did it. But teams decided to put basically a single high free safety. It's basically a center fielder out there by themselves, and he would pick it up. He would check at the line. I mean, it's simple stuff. You would expect him to, but for whatever reason, those teams decided to do it against Patrick Mahomes is ridiculous. But things like that he would pick up. But I think he's really starting to understand, what he means is, everything, complex things, the whole defense put together. Starting to watching the game film, sees something, and all of a sudden he sees it. Okay, I just saw that on the film. This is what it's going to be. So I think he's starting to understand those types of things, and that's what's getting scary. That this guy can continue to get even better. And the fact, the Super Bowl game started off a little shaky, not the best game for him. I mean, the fact that, some people look at it, well, yeah, he's not perfect. Maybe he can be beat, even though he wasn't beat. The way I look at it is, in that level of a game, his first time there, him being young, not having that much of experience, any other quarterback that's having that type of game, do they really pick themselves up and have an MVP second half or fourth quarter? It's so hard to do. It's a different game in the Super Bowl. Hear Tom Brady saying it's a different game. Just the feeling of it. It's a different game. And to be able to dig himself out of that, so that makes it even that much more impressive to me. That's just my take on it. So I got Patrick Mahomes at 1. Again, go to our Twitter, and we can talk about this, and we're going to have some polls. You guys can decide. I mean, I feel like it's going to be pretty obvious who wins or who's at the top, but we're going to have some polls where you guys can decide who is the best quarterback in football, and we're going to do this for every single position group, so I can't wait. We're going to do top 32 for every group, and it's for 2020, of course. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me have it. I know some of you will let me have it. Let me have it. We can take it. We can debate here. That's what's great about football here. That's why we love it. So smash that like button. Would really appreciate it. Subscribe to both channels. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.